Hola, hola, hola. Hello, hello, hello. I'm working on my Spanish. This is Suhailah, and this is Grow With Me by Suhailah, the podcast. Thank you for being here. This is episode 15, and episode 15 is part 2 of a 2-part conversation. Well, it was one part. It was one long recording, so I decided to chop it in 2. So you would have heard one last week and now this week. If you haven't listened to the first part, please go back and listen to it, because this one won't make sense if you didn't start with that, because it's literally just a continuation of a conversation, and you'll feel like, what is she talking about if you didn't hear the first part? So go back and listen to episode 14. And I guess I should really say an exploration as opposed to conversation. I'm talking to myself. There's no other person here on this episode. So it's a conversation with me. But in my mind, I feel like I'm talking to people. I feel like I'm talking to at least one other person who's listening. And so that's why I say conversation. And the name of this podcast episode and the last one, both of them, episodes 14 and 15, is Born to Build. And I guess, when I think about this is definitely personal, because I'm talking so much about my business journey, but I'm really just using it as an example to let you see how everything we have is truly within us. If you listen to part 1, you will see, I guess I'm asking us to explore, reflect on, or just try to understand or contemplate, what is our vision of richness? What is our vision of richness? Rich in freedom, rich in self-containment, rich in meaning we have everything we need inside of us, right? Guided and working in tandem with a higher source or power, whatever you want to call that. What it is to be rich in wisdom, what it is to be rich in heart, rich in trust, rich in empathy, compassion, rich in all of the things. Like, how do we even define that? And again, if you listen to the last episode 14, you'll see what that looked like to me, even from a very young age and even now. So I guess I'm asking us overall to do that so we can really, really, really start to call on these inner resources, this inner richness, our intuition, and just and other things, our imagination, and all of the things that empower us from the inside first. And we can start to see how those things are guiding us even when we cannot see it. So that is the purpose of me sharing everything that I have been sharing in the first episode, which of this 2-part series, which was number 14, and now this one, number 15, episode 15 of the overall Grow With Me podcast. But it's part 1 and 2 of this particular conversation, which like I said, I chopped it in half, and it's now 2 episodes. And also the name of this podcast is Grow With Me. So Grow With Me by Suhailah, Suhailah being me. I'm inviting you to do that. And how could I ask you to do that if I'm not sharing parts of me? Right? So that is the intention. I have to share parts of me so we can do this together. And because I know that so many people are dealing with the same things, I'm surrounded by it. And family and friends and business, I see it in the world. So that's part of it. And the other part, when it comes to this idea of richness, when we're richer in anything, we should be more generous. It should allow us to be more generous of spirit. And that's what I mean. And I think when we're more generous, when we start to understand our capabilities inside of us, we have more confidence that everything's going to be okay. And I think we can calm the F down. Excuse my language. Because when we calm down and we have confidence, we're not afraid that somebody could take something from us. And so that's what I mean. I said in one of the episodes during the summer with my healer, Kim, I want to provide people with hope. And that's because when we have hope that everything's going to be okay, we're okay, and we're less likely to harm another. We're less likely to do damage. That is my why. That's my why. That's why I do this. Because if we are self-empowered, we're not worried about nobody else. We're just worrying about our lawn. And we're going to make sure our lawn is watered and green and okay. And we're going to have flowers there and a tree with fruit that not only we can eat from, that we can offer to another, our fellow humans. So this is why I do what I do. I hope you enjoy it. It's Born to Build. That's me, born to build. And I think we're all born to build. So, and that's what we're doing. So even if we're building community and all of these things. So let's get into it. So I created workbooks on my computer. I created PDF documents. I started with foundational questions that are now the foundational questions I always ask. But this is how it all began. This is in my book now. This is in my course. But it started with that woman, that doctor, created workbooks. Then I created a site very quickly. I was like, oh, I should probably have a website. I already had my primary site, my Linear Global Group. I had it for years already, but I felt like this one was different. It was different. It was not servicing clients. It was not servicing corporations or big entities like that. It was a whole different service that I was developing. So I felt like it needed its own name and its own website. So at the time I had 2 websites, and then just a couple of years ago, I combined them. So now when you go to Linear Global Group, everything is there. And I'm going to be revising it again soon. But at the time, I was like, oh, let me create a website for Awaken the Brand, awakenthebrand.com. I got Wix. It was a free version, I think. I did a Awaken the Brand, and that became Awaken the Brand. So all of these things came together separately, but naturally. It was never forced. And this is always my way. Something happens. This is how God has made it my way. I don't know why this is. So I'm not someone who goes after stuff just because. It's I either see something like a video. Oh, I want to do that. What is that? Music. Who does that? Who's behind that? Oh, that's called the marketer. Oh, that's called the product manager. How do I get to that place? Advertising. Oh, I love these commercials. Super Bowl. Yay. Whoa, these are amazing commercials. What? They spend millions of dollars on these? This is more money than we spend on music videos. I want to get into advertising. Who does that? What agency? This has always been my way. I see something. I feel something. I want to be a part of it culturally, creatively. I want to build. That has always been my way. And then I put names to it, or the names and the pieces start to come together. It happens super organically for me, my entire business, my entire career. And that started Awaken the Brand. It's more like I'm guided, and I often don't even know why or what the full picture is going to be, but I'm guided. I'm guided by something internal, by God, one step at a time. Sometimes the pieces are just all over the place, and then I look back, or I'm there, standing there at the finish line, or at some stage of it being developed, and I'm like, oh my God, now I know what this was all for. Now I know why I got that name, and I met that person, and I got that knee injury, and I had anxiety that day, and I met Eric through my brother that day. It all comes together. It's perfect. It's literally perfection. Then I got a couple more clients, and now I had workbooks for them because I had done it for her. I would customize each one, and I would customize the conversations to where they are. So with their brands and with their businesses. So it just evolved, Awaken the Brand. So it started with that. That is how Awaken the Brand started. But the name had come before, and I always thought it would become a book. And then from there, I was like, oh my God, I love this so much, but I can't. I'm wearing myself out, meaning because I'm giving so much in this exchange with my clients, one-on-one coaching. This is before COVID, so everybody was not used to using Zoom the way they are now. But I was doing this beforehand, and it can get tiring. It is like therapy, meaning I pull a lot out of my clients, and they give me a lot, right? Because I'm trying to understand, why did you want to do this? Everything I do is values and mission based. So a lot of times they're exploring themselves. They're coming to new conclusions. They're addressing their own trauma. They're seeing their own obstacles. It happens organically. So Awaken the Brand started with that single client based on that experience. All the pieces came together that I already had in my mind. Then I already had these workbooks. I started taking on a couple more coaching clients. Then I realized this is exhausting, and I want to give, how do I give more people this information? Because I see that it's helping, but I can't be on these calls for this long. It would take up my entire week. And then I also had the other side of my business, which is Linear Global Group, which services larger clients. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create a course. So those workbooks became my course. I added more to the course, so it became even more expounded. It became a 7-week course, Awaken the Brand. And then I was like, these workbooks and this course can become my book. And that's how the Awaken the Brand book became. So even though the idea started with the name, started with the book, that's not the path that led me there. Or that's not the path in terms of how it actually developed, but it wound up with a book, and each thing became greater and greater. So the coaching is amazing, still there. The price is no longer $1,000, but it's still on my website, a little higher now. But it became, how can I offer these services to people at a more accessible price point? So these are for clients who cannot afford what a big brand like a Diageo, like a NBC Universal, who was my client, or USA Network, who was my client. They can't afford that level of monthly fee. So my coaching was the highest priced thing at the time. And then my course is a little bit cheaper. And then the book is the cheapest of them all. It's only $22, and it's an ebook, and it's easy to get. So that my intention was, how do I make this accessible to as many people as possible? And the foundation of all of my work is mission and values. The person's mission. So it became very, very, very values driven. I was already like that. It's how I led, but that's what my work became as well. And then from there, I had my book. And then from there, I have a manager because I became an author. So suddenly it was like, your talent. Surprise to me, I've always been behind the scenes. That is weird to me. I've worked with a lot of talent in the music industry. I've worked with artists, with producers. I've worked with in TV and advertising. I've had to work with talent when we shoot commercials. We've had huge artists, as you know, when I was on L'Oreal, we had Eva Longoria as a spokesperson, and Beyonce, and we had Penelope Cruz and Diane Keaton. So I've worked with talent of all kinds, behind the scenes photographers, directors. I have never considered myself talent, but suddenly I became talent because I'm an author. So I have a manager. And then from that came the idea for my newsletter. And then from that came the idea for my podcast. And from that came the idea for another course, which is my feminine leadership course. And the feminine leadership course was originally a webinar I gave for the 4A's, the Advertising Association, in 2017. It was a webinar. And then we didn't have all these ways and tools to make courses the way we can now digitally. So I always wanted to make it more. I was going to do workshops. So that idea was planted years ago, almost a decade prior to my current feminine leadership self-journey. The foundation and the principles, it's not the same exact thing that I presented for the webinar, but it's the same idea that now has its time. Not only because we have the tools to create like this digitally on our own from behind the computer, but because the world needs it now. And people see the way women are stepping up and need to step up and lead in sort of different ways than what we've seen, which has pretty much been destruction until now. So you see, the point of this is, it has all just been one step at a time, what I've been building. Yeah, from the beginning, that little girl who saw that woman with the shopping cart, I always wanted to be self-contained. That's what I think I wanted. I always wanted everything I needed on me. It's the same idea. Everything I needed is in me. It's in me, and it comes out outside of me when it is time. The pieces don't always look linear. The steps absolutely I take have had to be one at a time, but they haven't always made sense in a linear fashion. Like I said, the name for the book came first. The idea for the book came first. But did it seem like when I was first met the doctor at Agape, sitting next to her, because of the anxiety that came from trauma? So, right? So trauma led me there, right? Because I had to get out of the house. And my trauma and where my anxiety comes from is my trauma. I didn't know that yet, right? I don't think I knew that yet. That was right before someone told me I have PTSD, a doctor, a healer. But I didn't know where all this anxiety was coming up. It was ready to be released. So it was coming up feverishly in over a few year period, a couple years. I didn't know that that was part of my healing and part of my healing journey. But the point is, that anxiety that morning, that knee, because I am the kind of person that still moves no matter what. It's hard to just get me. I'm never down for the count. But so I always want to move. So that knee and that trauma of anxiety got me to that Agape Center that morning. And sitting next to that doctor is what made that conversation happen. And then her being curious enough because of our connection to go look at my Instagram. We didn't even talk about what we did. She only told me she was a doctor because she was helping with my knee, giving me advice about my knee. But otherwise, that's one of my things. I don't tend to introduce myself by what I do. So I'm never like, so I'm Suhailah and I have a company. It's never that, never by my title, especially if people lead with that. It's kind of a turnoff to me where your entire identity is what you do. And we're not in a setting where I need to know that. So we were not in a setting where I need to know that. So I didn't tell her that. So she discovered that and then reached out to me. Each step led to the next, led to the next, led to the next. And now here I am with this body of this work, this portfolio of 5 products. Everything connects to each other if you wanted to explore everything. But even if you didn't, there's something for everyone. It's essentially an ecosystem. It is an ecosystem that I have created here without even knowing that that's what I was doing. Meaning, obviously, on some level, I knew, a part of me knew. That's the part I always say. When I talk about AI, I always say AI has intelligence. It will never have wisdom. It will never have emotion. And it will never have that knowing. There is a knowing that comes without even knowing why you know or that you know. So when I say no, I didn't know that that was what I was doing on a conscious level. But on the inside, every single thing knew because it was guiding me there. And I have to attribute that to God. That's why everything comes back to spirituality for me, not religion, because what the heck else has been guiding me? I have 2 courses, a book, a podcast, and a newsletter now, aside from my primary business, which is Linear Global Group. And then I have Awaken the Brand as a platform, which is growing. And I have coaching and I have one-on-one sessions with people, VIP strategy days, I call them. And then I have all types of ways that people can work with me. And the entire intention has always been to service people at every level, to meet you where you are. And that is everything I do, is to meet people where they are. And it's values driven and it's mission driven, not just for me, but for them. And I'm lucky enough to pick and choose the kinds of clients, big and small, that I want to work with. But at this point, I just seem to attract the right ones, the perfect ones for me. And we just add value to each other and we grow together. And it keeps expanding and expanding and expanding what I do. And this is how creation works. And this is how intuition works. And this is how imagination works. And this is how building works. And these are topics I've been talking about all year. If you are someone who reads my newsletter, you will see that my newsletter this year was all about rebuilding. And every month I talk about, it builds on each other. So I go through all of these things, but this is what it looks like. But each month it's about something. Rebuilding is the theme, but then I'll have intuition. I call them our spiritual gifts and our spiritual technologies, because we are always being led. I know this is a longer podcast, but the point is that nothing always looks like it seems, and sometimes it doesn't even look like it's coming together at all. And at the time that I was creating the workbooks and working with that Dr. Grace is her name. Her first name is Grace. I called her Dr. Grace. I didn't know I was going to actually get back to my book, but it still became my book. So one thing fed into the next, fed into the next, fed into the next. And this is what I do. And at the heart of everything I do is to build a conscious, empowered people, first of all. And this is why I'm so committed to give tools. I feel like we're kind of all sick of just being inspired, right? You go to an event, you see a webinar, an online program, you're excited, you get your new notebook, your new clean document, if you're typing it on your computer, a new notes file in your iPhone. You're excited for that moment. If it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then you walk away from it, and very few people continue to apply it. So I'm very keen on helping people change and be the change they want to see, and also develop the habits that they need to succeed. And that's why I started doing this other work, like the more personal feeling work, the podcast and the newsletter, because I could see people's obstacles. And this is why Awaken the Brand, the book, is part personal development and business development, because it happens at the same time, or it should be happening at the same time. If you're paying attention, you're developing as a person at the same time as you build anything, a family, a relationship, definitely in a business and a brand. You develop as a person. It's just about if you're going to do it the hard way or the easy way. It's never necessarily smooth or easy, but we can do it consciously. So my intention with everything I do is to build conscious, empowered work, right? Work that lifts your consciousness and that empowers you. Empowerment to me means not just being inspired for the moment, but I'm giving you something so you don't have to depend on me. After, you can just use this on your own for life. The principles stand for life, right? So my book is about that. My course is about that. The podcast and the newsletter are more personal, because I started to realize, including because I'm my own test dummy as well. I am an entrepreneur as well, and I have a new side of my business as well. But before that, I could see how I'm changing and growing, and I could see my own obstacles. I could see where my trauma gets in the way before I even knew that it was trauma. Whether it's procrastination, where these things come from, delays, fear to speak up, fear to be seen. I could see it, and I could see it. So I don't mind using myself as the experiment, and this is why I share such personal stories, so people can be okay with wherever they are. Because I know firsthand what we come up against. We come up against ourselves. So Spark, my newsletter, Spark by Suhailah, and this podcast, Grow Me by Suhailah, the more personal aspects are because I'm trying to get you ready on the inside for whatever you have to face on the outside in your day, in your business. And then my other work comes into play there. If you're a business person or a brand person, or you have a personal brand or actual physical product brand, a brick and mortar store. So it's all connected. But it all started with a vision, that little girl who saw that lady and just thought, I don't know what I thought when I saw that lady. And it's crazy to me that I thought she was rich. She probably was. Having met so many people who are rich in money, that lady probably had more than a lot of people that we know at that time. I'm telling you, in my mind, she looked neat. She looked together. She had everything in that shopping cart packed to the top. And she was carrying her whole world on her. And I don't know where she lived, but she clearly was homeless. So I don't know what that meant back then. If she went to a shelter, I don't really know. If she had her corner she slept on, or maybe she went somewhere else at nights. But that lady was the vision that I still hold. And it's strange because it seems, especially I'm here in Hollywood, I'm in California, one of the richest states, and I'm in LA and Hollywood, all the things that are glitz and glamour, and not far from Beverly Hills and all these places. But that lady is the vision that I held. And I think I've become that lady, but minus being homeless. God bless her and all of the unhoused. But everything I do is to empower people and to raise consciousness. And it is about creating tools. That is my commitment. This podcast is that. My newsletter is that. There's always tools that people can work with, information that they can work with, books that they can research on their own, because that's what happened to me. So that's my commitment. Conscious, empowered individuals make conscious, empowered communities, whatever that looks like for us. And it makes a conscious, empowered world. So that's my intention with everything that I do. And you will see that throughout. So this podcast is a little bit different. I just want to share that. But my vision, my life, it happened one step at a time. One organic, really driven by trauma a lot of times, or pain, that got me into different settings. And then something unexpected happened there, like at Agape, sitting next to that doctor. It all was combined. And it's always worth it in the end. It's always worth it. At some point you see it, either during it or after, you see this was worth it. It was worth the journey. And this is why I don't separate business from personal. This is why I lead so differently. But it all was very organic, and it's step-by-step growth. And now I have this ecosystem of work that helps me. Creating the work helps me fulfill my purpose. And it makes me, this is why I could say now I'm standing fully in my mission and in my purpose. It doesn't mean that I can't stand corrected or that I know everything, but I damn sure know where I'm going, and I know the vision. And I know if I died today, God forbid, I would be happy that I left a mark on this world and that I came here to do what I did. And my work lives. It lives where someone can see it even after I'm gone. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you are working on something, even if it doesn't look linear, even if it doesn't look like it's coming together, you have to look at it as like a potluck or like a soup. The ingredients, you just pour them in, and sometimes you taste and you're like, it's missing this. You wouldn't have even known that it was missing that unless you tasted it. So you had to experience it, right? And then it might be an unexpected ingredient that you add, or you might be like, oh, I have to turn the fire up. Maybe the instructions said to keep it on low, but you're deciding, no, actually, I think this is better on high. Or maybe it said 350, but you're like, no, I think I want to bake it on 500. We start to just put our individual touch. It's our individual touches on everything, but it's okay wherever we are. The pieces will come together. The most important thing is to take the next step. Take the next step, take the next step, take the next step. Okay. Have a good day.